When I was 18, I caught Joel helping a poor female student fasten her bra clasp. The boy's expression was solemn, his movements clumsy and inexperienced. At 26, I followed my family's wishes and married Joel, but everyone in Beijing's elite circle knew. He kept a portrait of that poor girl locked in his study. In our 3rd year of marriage, I filed for divorce. He stayed silent for a long time, then signed the papers. If you ever need anything, just ask. Later, I showed up at a gala arm in arm with the law firm's partner, an old friend teased. Back in debate club, you two were always at each other's throats. Who would have thought you'd end up holding hands? That night, after months of silence, Joel's number lit up my phone. So the reason you insisted on keeping the Riverside apartment was because you could see his law firm from there? Chapter 1. A cold wind whipped past the window, but the room was warm as spring. The man sitting across the sofa wore a crisp suit, tall and straight-backed, his face still sharp and handsome like when he was 18. Only now, there was a fresh wound at his temple, jarringly out of place. An hour ago, I got a call from the police station. Joel got into a fight. When I arrived, a woman was carefully tending to his wound, cradling his face gently. I recognized her, Alice, our classmate from high school. The moment she saw me, she recoiled like a frightened bird. Joel immediately shielded her behind him and frowned. She's timid. Don't scare her. I said nothing, quietly following the officer to handle the paperwork. By the time I returned, Alice was gone. On the ride home, Joel didn't speak a single word to me, just stayed on the phone the whole time. Even now, he's still whispering softly, coaxing the woman on the other end. I've never seen Joel like this. His gaze, gentle, indulgent, focused. Every drop of patience poured out for Alice. That's when the thought of divorce first came to me. Chapter 2. If Joel and I were childhood sweethearts, then Alice was the unreachable white moonlight in his heart. We met in high school. Unlike Joel and me, who came from privileged families, Alice was a poor scholarship student. She was beautiful, top of the class, optimistic, and driven. The moment she transferred into our class, she caught Joel's attention. I once thought Joel was only intrigued by something new, until the day Alice was falsely accused of stealing class funds. Several girls dragged her into the bathroom. By the time I arrived, they had already left. The empty restroom held only Alice, her shirt torn off. I took off my coat, about to step forward and help, when I saw Joel step out of a stall, holding Alice's clothes. Alice, her back to him, voice trembling with tears. Leave. If someone sees us, it'll be hard to explain. Joel, then don't explain. Just get dressed first. They stood there frozen. In the end, Alice relented. But for some reason, she couldn't fasten her bra. Joel, without hesitation, stepped forward. Let me. His face was serious, his movements clumsy and unsure. Once he finished, I clearly saw his ears had turned crimson. He turned and locked eyes with me. Panic flashed in his gaze, but he quickly composed himself and walked toward me. Good, you're here. Help her out. Then he turned back and added, please, keep this to yourself. I agreed, but that afternoon, photos of Joel helping Alice dress were all over the school. Joel was convinced I had betrayed him. That day, he lost his temper at me for the first time. Fiona, don't think I won't touch you just because my parents favor you. You may be the daughter-in-law they picked, but no one gets to decide who I marry. I bit my lip. Believe it or not, I had nothing to do with those photos. He sneered. You were the only one there. Who else could have taken them? It wasn't me. I lifted my chin, defiant. Why would I spread rumors about her? Because you were jealous I was with her. My mind went blank. Since when? He looked at me, full of disdain. I've seen her body. I have to take responsibility. But he cut me off. Impatient. Fiona, did you really think I took care of you all these years because I liked you? I felt like I'd fallen into an icy abyss, frozen in place. That night, Joel's parents found out about him and Alice. His father dragged him to my house to apologize. Joel stubbornly raised his head and said the most rebellious thing. If you like Fiona so much, why don't you marry her yourself? which earned him a beating from both sets of parents. At the time, Joel didn't understand the situation. He didn't realize I had been raised to be his wife since childhood. As the only heir, he never had a say in who he could marry. In the end, he married me. After the scandal, Alice soon transferred schools. After the college entrance exams, Joel was sent abroad. He stayed overseas for 8 years. When he came back to take over the family business, he had changed completely. Gone was the reckless youth. In his place was a composed, reserved man. He came to me and said, "We're both single. Let's just get married." I knew I couldn't escape the fate of an arranged marriage. At least marrying someone I already knew felt like a blessing. Only later did I learn. The first thing Joel did upon returning was go to Alice. But she had pride. She rejected him. So marrying me was just his way of lashing out. Chapter 3. I'm heading out for a bit. You go to sleep first. Joel's voice snapped me out of my thoughts. He stood up and walked out while speaking softly into the phone. Don't be scared. I'm on my way now. They won't dare do anything. Lock the door and wait for me. I also stood up. It's so late. Are you still going out? He only paused briefly, then continued toward the door. Something came up. I'll be back late. When he was nearly at the door, I stopped him again. A trace of irritation appeared on his face. What now? Joel, I said, let's get a divorce. Anger instantly filled his eyes. He held back his temper and asked, what nonsense is this again? Alice was scared today. She has no one else here. She can only rely on me. I stared at him. Is helping her showing up at her club every day to back her up? A CEO getting into a fight and ending up at the police station for a waitress. Is that your idea of helping? Joel's thin lips curled into a cold, sharp smile. His deep eyes radiated danger and warning. I'll find out exactly what happened tonight, he added with a pause. It better have nothing to do with you. It felt like a bucket of ice water had been dumped over my head. My blood ran cold. In over 2 years of marriage, Joel had never lost his temper with me. I once believed he'd moved on from Alice and wanted to live a good life with me. But now, I realized it was all just wishful thinking. Suddenly, something came to mind. There used to be a portrait of Alice in Joel's study, drawn by his own hand. He never tried to hide it, not even from his family. His grandfather had flown into a rage over it. And in the end, they replaced it with our wedding photo. But the portrait wasn't discarded, it was just locked away. In this moment, I finally understood. Joel never truly gave in. He had been resisting, silently, in his own way. Outside, the wind howled. The balcony door by the dining room had been left open. A gust of cold wind rushed in, and I shivered. Right then, a sharp, piercing scream came from Joel's phone. At the same moment, the sinister look in his eyes crumbled into pieces, replaced by sheer terror. He rushed out. Alice, don't be afraid. I'll be there in 10 minutes. Don't open the door for anyone. Before he finished, he was already out the door. The door closed, taking all his gentleness with it. That night, Joel never came home. I sat alone on the couch until dawn. At sunrise, I received 2 messages. One was a photo of Joel and Alice entering a hotel together. The second was a message. Divorce him. Choose me, okay? Scrolling up, there were 3 earlier unread messages. Fiona, I'm back. If you need anything, I'm here anytime. Do you really love him that much? How about giving me a chance? I blinked away the stinging in my eyes and quickly typed back. Okay. Chapter 4. Joel came home the next afternoon. He was wearing a brand new suit, one from a brand he wouldn't normally even glance at. He looked neat and tidy, not a trace of perfume on him. If it weren't for the obvious red marks on his throat, no one would believe that he and Alice had stayed in a hotel room until the afternoon. Maybe out of guilt, he brought me a gift. Sorry, I was too harsh last night. I'm here to apologize. He placed the gift in front of me. I calmly pulled out the divorce papers I had prepared long ago and slid them across the table to him. Take a look. If there's no problem, go ahead and sign. Joel frowned deeply. You're seriously doing this, just because I helped an old classmate? Fiona, when did you become so petty? I ignored his words. We notarized our premarital assets. They remain separate. As for post-marriage cash, We split it 50-50ths. I only want the Riverside apartment. Finally. Joel looked at me seriously. His dark eyes were filled with suspicion and probing. After a long silence, he gave a cold laugh. So this is your new tactic? He didn't believe me. He thought I was trying to win him back. Of course, his family holds a prominent place in high society. So many wealthy families dream of marrying their daughters into it. To him, I had no reason to give up the status of being his wife, but I had long since thought about giving it up. It happened on a rather ordinary day. Joel had been out drinking as usual and came home completely wasted. When I reached out to help him, he suddenly pointed at me and snapped, "Fiona, your so-called love disgusts me." I froze. An ache spread through my chest. I clearly remembered he used to like me, too. Back in our first year of high school, Joel and I weren't even in the same class yet. Our classrooms were across the hallway from each other. One day, there was a strong tremor from a nearby earthquake. Joel was the first to bolt from his classroom into mine. Wrapping his school jacket around my head, he half dragged, half carried me downstairs. The earthquake didn't cause any damage. The only injury I had was a bruise on my wrist from how tightly he'd held me. His buddies teased him, saying Fiona must be his most prized possession. Some even joked we should get married right then and there. I thought Joel would get embarrassed, but instead he said, "We will get married." Oh, big talk. You've still got a few years before the legal age. Joel replied, "If I don't marry her, none of you are invited to my wedding." All of those friends came to our wedding, but what was the point? Chapter 5. Joel was convinced I was playing hard to get as a tactic to manipulate him. He sat across from me, staring coldly. Every time we'd argued before, I was always the first to give in, so he thought this time would be no different. But he didn't know, I had made up my mind. I brought the divorce papers in front of me, pen in hand. Under his icy gaze, I flipped to the last page and signed my name. Then I handed him the pen. "If there's no problem, sign it." At that moment, Joel finally realized I wasn't joking. His expression darkened, and his voice came out low and hoarse. "You're sure?" I checked the time. "If we go now, we'll make it to the Civil Affairs Bureau before it closes." He didn't respond. He just stared at me, those dark eyes seeming to search for any crack in my resolve. After a long silence, he finally looked away. "Then let's get divorced." He signed his name, then suddenly paused. "Grandpa's birthday banquet is next month. I hope we can wait until after the celebration to tell the family." I had no objection. I stood up and pulled out the suitcase I had prepared in advance. "Fiona." His tone had softened slightly. "You can still stay here. No need. Since we're getting divorced, there's no point in dragging things out. If you need anything in the future, don't hesitate to ask." I didn't stop. Just as I reached the front door, he caught up to me. "I'll drive you." "No need. Someone's already coming to pick me up." Downstairs, I spotted a tall figure standing under the street lamp. As soon as he saw me, he walked over and naturally took my suitcase. Once we were in the car, I turned toward the refined man in the driver's seat. "Oliver," I said. "Give me 1 month." Oliver gave a soft laugh, leaned over, and buckled my seatbelt for me. "Just 1 month? I can wait." Chapter 6. Oliver and I were university classmates, both top of the law school, both peers and rivals. We first met at a large debate competition. The topic was, if you had a superpower that could make the one you love you back, would you use it? Oliver and I were on opposing sides. The debate was fierce. In the end, my side won. After it ended, he stopped me and said, "If I had that power, I'd use it without hesitation." Back then, I was young, proud, and sharp-tongued. "Then you're not worthy of love." Oliver looked at me deeply. "I love her, but I also respect her. As long as I don't give up, she'll see me eventually." I gave him a meaningful smile. "So even the top student has someone they can't have." He didn't reply, just stared at me in silence. Later, because of student council work, we spent more and more time together. Every interaction was a mental chess match. After 4 years of sparring, we somehow became friends. On graduation day, Oliver asked me out for a drink. I went. He asked what plans I had for the future. Half joking, I said, "What else? People like us get married, have kids, and use it to lock in business partnerships. Oliver looked serious. Then wait for me, 5 years at most. Will you wait for me? The bar was too loud, I didn't actually catch everything he said. I downed my drink, and almost the second I put my glass down, Oliver kissed me. I fled in a panic. Not because of the kiss itself, but because I realized I was attracted to him, and that I responded to him. I was terrified of that kind of loss of control. I turned off my phone, cut myself off from the world. A week later, I reconnected with classmates and learned that Oliver had gone abroad to pursue further studies, and he stayed away for 4 years. Now that he's back, I'm already someone's wife. Chapter 7. We're here. His voice snapped me back to reality. The car had stopped in front of my apartment complex. As I got out, he followed. The suitcase was in his hand, and he clearly had no intention of giving it back to me. We entered the elevator, went upstairs, and arrived at my door, but he didn't step inside. Fiona, would you like to partner with me and open a law firm? I was genuinely surprised by his offer. After getting married, I had stopped working in law. As someone's wife, it wasn't considered appropriate to constantly show up in public or do anything that could harm the reputation of either family. Over the years, I only ran a few small businesses and gradually forgot that I had once been a law student. In the moment Oliver brought it up, I'll admit I was moved, but I quickly shook the idea off. I'm an outsider now. I don't want to drag you down. Oliver had done very well in recent years. He was widely seen as a rising star in our field. At reunions, old classmates would mention him with envy. Oliver's pulling in 7 figures a year and on track for 8. The rest of you are slowing the profession down, you should reflect on that. But Oliver didn't see it that way. You can do it, Fiona. You always could. He reminded me of our campus days, of the fire I used to have, of the times I had argued him into silence. He said, Fiona, if you're ready for a new life, then take the next step. He convinced me. At the edge of turning 30, I gathered the courage to finally live for myself. In the days that followed, I got busy, out early and back late, exhausted but more fulfilled than I'd ever been. It wasn't until I got a call from Grandpa that I realized a month had already flown by. Fiona, what have you been up to lately? Why haven't you come by to see Grandpa? Joel's family had always treated me well, especially Grandpa. Since there weren't any girls in Joel's generation, he practically treated me like a precious jewel. I explained I'd been busy with work. My 80th birthday's the day after tomorrow, you better not forget. Oh, and your grandmother had a cheongsam tailored for you. It's been sent to the villa. Check if it fits when you have time. I nodded repeatedly and chatted with him a bit more before hanging up. The villa he referred to was the marital home Joel's family had prepared for us. Far from the city center, we usually lived in the Golden Bay residence for convenience. After work, I drove to the villa to pick up the cheongsam. Divorce or not, respect for the elders couldn't be overlooked. Once there, I headed straight for the walk-in closet. The housekeeper had told me that the cheongsam had been placed there. The closet was inside the master bedroom, but for convenience, I had a separate door opened from the hallway. Just as I approached, the bedroom door suddenly swung open. Alice appeared out of nowhere. When she saw me, she flinched like a startled rabbit, eyes wide with panic. Miss Fiona? I nodded and didn't bother chatting. I continued walking forward. Barely a few steps later, a lazy voice came from behind. Who are you talking? His voice cut off abruptly. I could feel his gaze searing into my back. I turned around and gave him a calm nod. Just came to pick up the cheongsam Grandpa sent. Joel's eyes darkened slightly. Did you get it? Just about to. In the walk-in closet, I found the cheongsam at the very bottom of a drawer. I didn't linger. I turned and left quickly. But at the stairwell corner, Joel called out to stop me. Fiona, next time you come here, let me know in advance. He leaned against the second-floor railing. His shirt wasn't properly buttoned, and the scratch marks and kiss bruises were clearly visible. Alice is sensitive. You showing up like this will embarrass her. I pressed my lips together. I know you're in a hurry, but we're not divorced yet. If this gets out to the old house, it'll be hard to explain. Before he could speak, I added, tomorrow's the day we finalize the divorce. Don't be late. Chapter 8. The next day, Joel arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau right on time. He was dressed formally. His wedding ring was long gone, leaving only a faint mark on his finger. His expression was calm, neither happy nor sad. "Let's hurry. I have an online meeting at 10. Looking at his sharply defined face, I suddenly felt dazed. On the day we registered our marriage, he had said the exact same thing. Then, like an emotionless machine, he followed every step of the process as if just going through the motions. Even the clerk couldn't help but ask him, "Sir, if today's inconvenient, you can come back another day." His face darkened. "I'm here willingly." And today, again, he was here willingly, only this time it was for a divorce. I had thought the divorce would be a drawn-out tug-of-war, but it ended up going through surprisingly smoothly. The moment I held the divorce certificate in my hand, I exhaled deeply. Joel stared at his for a long time. It wasn't until another couple reminded him to move aside that he seemed to snap out of it and quickly walked away. When I stepped out of the bureau, Joel was at the entrance making a call. It's done. If you're tired, sleep a bit more. I'll come pick you up for lunch after my meeting." As I passed by, he suddenly called out to me. I turned. "Something wrong?" He pressed his lips together. "When you have time, come pick up your stuff. It's not right for it to stay. Tell the housekeeper to pack it and throw it out." I got into the car parked by the curb and didn't look back. As the car started and slowly pulled away, I caught a glimpse of Joel still standing there, watching in my direction, lost in thought. That same night, the news of our divorce reached the elders. My parents summoned me home immediately. They grilled me about why I was being so reckless. "Why did you do this? So what if a man makes a mistake? Can't you just move on? Now that you're divorced, aren't you just handing him over to another woman?" My mother was furious. "Call Joel right now, apologize, and find a time to remarry. Are you divorcing for fun?" "I'm not remarrying," I said. "I will never remarry him." Her voice rose sharply. "You think it's all up to you? What about our family's business? Look at your friends. All of them are in open marriages, doing their own thing. You're the only one making such a scene." She went on, but every word circled back to remarriage. No matter what she said, I wasn't moved. In our circle, most couples had broken marriages. Their interests were so tangled up that divorce was like peeling off a layer of skin. So most remained married in name, living separate lives behind the scenes. I once thought I would spend my life the same way, but I later realized, not everyone is the same. Once the bow is drawn, there's no turning back, and I would never look back. "Mom, let me talk to her." At some point, my older brother had walked in. Before Mom could say anything, he pulled me out the door. He opened the car door and stuffed me into the seat. "Go home and stop picking up her calls." I was stunned. "Bro," he shot me a glance. "Cut it out with that look. Don't think I don't know how you're all smiles around that Oliver guy." Leaning against the door, he lit a cigarette. "Invite Oliver out for dinner sometime. He's gotta pass my test first." In the past, I would have snapped at him for saying that. But now, hearing those words, my eyes turned red. 8 years ago, my brother followed the family's wishes and married his wife. They treated each other with respect and had a son. He never fooled around and treated her with care in every way. Everyone said they were the model couple, but I knew neither of them were happy. I once asked him, "If you're unhappy, why stay together?" He replied, "There are always things you have to give up." I never knew who he gave up, but I do know, his wife had only ever loved him. Chapter 9. I attended Grandpa's birthday banquet just long enough to deliver the gift before leaving. Oliver had told me the night before that he'd taken a last-minute case and needed to visit a neighboring city to track down a witness. Grandpa already knew about my divorce from Joel and kept insisting I stay. He didn't let go until the butler announced Joel had returned. Just as I stepped outside, I ran into Joel and Alice. I was stunned. He really chose today to make things public? Joel saw me too. He gave me a nod from afar, his way of saying hello. Alice was clearly dressed to impress today. She looked quite stunning. She also saw me and tried to come over, but Joel held her back. At that moment, Oliver's car pulled up by the curb. I looked away from Joel and got in the car. I hadn't expected to be gone for a whole week. The case turned out to be far more complicated than we anticipated. Fortunately, We made it through without incident, and we won. By the time the case wrapped up, 3 months had passed. Spring had arrived, the air warm and full of life, and I was about to turn 30. My parents insisted on throwing me a birthday party. Over the past 3 months, they had gradually come to accept my divorce and had even started asking around about Oliver. Thanks to the high-profile case we just closed, Oliver's reputation skyrocketed, and my parents were more eager than ever to meet him. They even tried to fish for details from my brother about me and Oliver. Every time, he acted deaf and focused all his attention on playing with his son. With my birthday approaching, they decided on the spot to throw me a party. They sent out the invitations before informing me, the birthday girl. Looking at Oliver, I smiled wryly. Sorry, you'll have to meet them. Oliver pinched my cheek, amused. I thought you were planning to keep me hidden in a golden cage forever. He had just showered, wearing only a bathrobe. His damp hair was still dripping, and water trailed down his chest, disappearing into the robe. Oliver, I asked, my throat suddenly dry. Are you staying over tonight? Lately, we'd spent a lot of time together because of work, but we hadn't officially moved in together. Since my place was closer to the firm, he would occasionally come over to shower and nap for a couple of hours, but we'd hardly crossed any lines. There was only one near miss, just short of going all the way. Even then, he'd held himself back, wrapped me in a blanket, and calmed his breathing through it. The more I thought about it, the more suspicious I felt. Oliver, is something wrong with you? Oliver froze. When he looked over, his eyes were unreadable. I just don't think it's time yet, he replied quietly. I sighed. Oliver was perfect in so many ways, except he was too proper. When discussing work, he was so serious it felt like dealing with a government official. But even in private, he acted the same, which made me feel like maybe he didn't want me that way. Are you mad? When I lowered my head in silence, he stretched out his arms and effortlessly pulled me into his lap. I poked his firm chest. Seems like a waste of a great body. All I could do was look. He caught my wandering hand and swallowed hard. If you want it. I never said no. That one line made my cheeks burn. I tried to get up, embarrassed, but he pulled me right back. As soon as I settled, he tilted my chin and kissed me. The spacious bedroom was dimly lit by a single lamp. His hand tightened around my waist, as if he wanted to press me into his bones, to merge me with him. Under the warm amber light, shadows swayed across the room. The only sound left was our stifled sobs, lingering into the depths of the night. Chapter 10. Oliver and I arrived fashionably late to the birthday party. We had both overslept that morning. By the time we woke up, it was already noon. And then he clung to me, refusing to let me go, dragging it out for another 2 hours. Who would have thought that the oh-so-serious lawyer could be so insatiable in private? As soon as we entered the banquet hall, my brother pulled Oliver away. One of my childhood friends commented with a sigh. Back in the debate competition, you two were at each other's throats. Who would have thought you'd end up holding hands one day? He and I went to the same university, so he knew everything about me and Oliver. When I married Joel, even though it was a family mandate I couldn't refuse, he still asked me, "Are you really not going to wait for Oliver?" Back then, I didn't give him an answer. He must have remembered that moment too, because he teased. Good thing Joel was blind, or Oliver never would have had a shot. Just as he finished speaking, Joel walked into the hall, with Alice trailing behind him. My friend scoffed. Joel's gotten more and more clueless, after causing a scene by bringing her to his grandfather's birthday. Now he's brought her here again? I suddenly recalled something. What happened at Grandpa's birthday banquet? You don't know? I shook my head. I had been buried in work at the time, too busy to pay attention to anything else. He said. He brought her in front of his grandfather and said he wanted to marry her. His grandfather blew up, said if he went through with it, he'd be removed from the family register. Joel is the only male heir of his generation. For Grandpa to say something like that, he must have been absolutely furious. But Joel shut everyone up with just one sentence. My friend said, giving me a look. Do you know what he said? What? He said Alice is 2 months pregnant. I pressed my lips together, not the least bit surprised. From the moment Joel and Alice reconnected, I had already anticipated this outcome. Joel was no longer the naive teenager from our school days. Now that he had taken over the company, the elders couldn't control him anymore. With power and independence, he was bound to chase after the girl he once lost. Joel and I had been married for over 2 years, and my womb had remained silent. The elders never said anything, but I could feel how eager they were to have a grandchild. Joel had used that exact point to justify letting Alice stand proudly by his side. But don't feel bad, my friend added. Even if he got what he wanted, he still got beaten up by the family for cheating during the marriage. Halfway through the banquet, I went to the restroom. On my way back, I passed by the lounge and overheard Joel and Alice arguing. As I got closer, I saw Alice's eyes were red and swollen. "Do you regret being with me?" she asked. Joel had a cigarette between his fingers. "Don't overthink it. I just came out for a smoke." Alice bit her lip. But the moment Fiona left, "You followed her, surrounded by smoke," Joel said softly. "Be good. Go back inside. Don't let the baby breathe in secondhand smoke." Alice, though poor, had always had her pride. She was never the type to beg Joel submissively. After a brief standoff, she walked away looking utterly defeated. I walked past Joel without even glancing at him, only for him to suddenly call out to me, "Have you and Oliver been in contact all these years?" I stopped in my tracks and turned to face him. He looked down, so I couldn't see his expression. "When did you two get together?" I was speechless. "Joel, we're already divorced. With the relationship we have now, you don't get to ask that kind of question." People were walking by in the hallway, some glancing over curiously. Joel flicked the cigarette into a standing ashtray and stared at the glowing ember in silence. Then he turned around and walked away, without another word. Chapter 11. The next time I heard about Joel and Alice was on the day Oliver and I got engaged. After the engagement banquet, on the drive home, it started to pour. Alice stood in the rain, blocking our car. Her back was straight as an arrow. "Miss, I hope you can let Joel go. You're already divorced. He's my husband now." I frowned, clearly annoyed. "What you're saying could easily make my fiancé misunderstand. Please don't say things like that again." She looked pitiful, messy hair, soaked clothes, but her eyes held a disturbing determination. "You must feel pretty smug right now. Huh? Your ex-husband still can't forget you. And now you've seamlessly gotten engaged to a big-shot lawyer." "Alice." I cut her off coldly. "What exactly are you trying to say?" She gave me a long, penetrating look. "I haven't been able to reach him for a whole day. Please contact him and tell him, as long as he comes back, I'm willing to divorce him." With that, she turned and walked straight into the downpour without hesitation, completely ignoring the fact that she was pregnant. I hesitated, wondering if I should go after her with an umbrella. But Oliver said calmly, "Don't worry, his family's bodyguards are nearby. They won't let anything happen to her." I suddenly snapped back to reality. Right. Joel's family had been longing for a grandchild for years. They would never let anything happen to Alice. Too bad. Alice miscalculated tonight. If she were a little smarter, she would have never tried to use the child to tie Joel down. If she had just kept her head down and given birth, stayed obedient, she would have never had to suffer again in this life. "Oliver." You don't seem the slightest bit angry about what she said." Oliver chuckled, playing with the ring he had just slipped onto my finger. "You're right here with me. What's there to be angry about?" I felt a little regretful. Oliver was always so rational, saw through everything. I'd probably never have the chance to see him get jealous in this lifetime. But what I didn't expect was that just 2 hours later, I'd end up paying the price for making him jealous, and I had absolutely no defense against it. Chapter 12. While Oliver was showering, I got a call from Joel. He had called dozens of times, hanging up without saying a word. Just as I was about to turn off my phone, he called again. I hadn't meant to answer, but accidentally hit the accept button. I finally snapped and barked into the phone. "Joel, I don't have time to play your crazy games." There was a brief silence before Joel's voice came through. "Do you really like him that much?" I frowned. "What are you talking about?" His voice was cold and distant. "Back then, you insisted on getting that Riverside apartment. Was it because you could see his law firm from there?" "Yes, actually, that wasn't the reason. I wanted that apartment because Joel had never set foot in it. I needed a space untouched by him. Joel suddenly let out a low, bitter laugh. I tensed. What's so funny? His voice was laced with mockery. So, you never really liked me. It's always been him, hasn't it? I did like you. A long time ago, but now, I love Oliver. So please, stop calling me. I didn't deny that I had once loved him. Life is like chess. Every move made is a choice I won't regret. I've come to accept every version of myself, even the flawed ones. After hanging up, I turned only to meet Oliver's chilly gaze. I didn't know how long he'd been standing behind me, or how much he'd heard. After a short silence, I pretended nothing had happened and headed toward the bathroom. Just as I passed him, he grabbed my arm. The next second, I was yanked under the covers. Oliver, I haven't showered yet. He stared at me until my skin prickled under his gaze. Then, in one swift motion, he lifted me up and carried me into the bathroom. What are you doing? Didn't you say you wanted a shower? I'll join you. You just showered. I'll help you. When Oliver said he'd help me shower, he meant it, meticulously and thoroughly, like he was doing precision work. Ashamed and frustrated, I gave him a punch, but that just got me pulled into the bathtub with him. That night, I learned firsthand just how much stamina Oliver had, and just how skilled he could be. It was truly something to behold. So much so that the next morning, I couldn't even get out of bed. When my childhood friend called, I was using a massage gun to ease my sore muscles. Did you hear Joel's getting divorced? I paused, delayed in my reaction. Didn't he just get married? He spoke in a hushed, mysterious tone. Word is, he's doing it because of you. Hold on. Let me send you a video. The video started with Alice, belly swollen, walking up to Joel. They were talking in low voices, couldn't make out what was said. She reached for his hand, but Joel flung her off violently. She stumbled, barely regaining her balance, then grabbed a bottle of alcohol and started chugging. Are you crazy? Joel snatched the bottle away, his face livid. Alice laughed. So you do care about me, right? Joel frowned, brows tightly knit. I'll have the driver take you home. I'm not leaving unless you come with me. She sat on the couch, clutching her stomach, completely ignoring the fact that Joel's friends were all still present. The room fell into awkward silence. No one dared speak up or leave. Then finally, Joel broke the stalemate. Fine, let's get divorced. He looked utterly exhausted. I won't bring up what happened back in high school, as long as you agree to the divorce. After the baby is born, I'll give you a sum of money. The video cut off there. I asked my childhood friend, what was that high school thing he mentioned? He replied, you remember that photo of Joel and Alice in the girls' bathroom? Alice had someone take it. TSK, who would have guessed? They were only 18, and she already had that kind of scheming mind. It's no wonder Joel fell for it. Honestly, if that kind of girl came for me 5 years ago, I might not have seen through her either. After hanging up, I sat on the balcony for a long time. The memories had begun to fade, but some feelings never really disappear. The truth might have come late, but at least it hadn't been buried. Chapter 13. After Oliver and I got our marriage certificate, we didn't hold a wedding. We took some time off and set off on our honeymoon. The first stop, a small coastal town. I ran barefoot along the soft, fluffy sand, the sea breeze brushing against my face. Oliver followed close behind, acting as my personal photographer. When I got tired of playing, I lay under a tree to rest, while Oliver stepped away to take a work call. I saw Joel. At first, I thought I was imagining it, but then he walked right up to me and greeted me. Seeing him here didn't make me happy. He chatted casually, like an old friend catching up. The scenery here is great. You mentioned wanting to come. I should have made time back then to bring you. You talked about that big reef over there. I went to see it. Photos taken on it really turn out amazing. Also, at the hotel, Joel. I cut him off. What do you want? Joel fell silent. After a pause, he spoke in a voice only the two of us could hear. I'm divorced. I already knew that. My childhood friend kept me updated on all of Joel's news. When I refused to listen, He started sending voice messages instead. So I knew the moment Joel got divorced. He said it was because of Alice's alcoholic father. After learning that Alice had married into a wealthy family, the man caused trouble at Joel's house every day. Alice was overwhelmed and had to keep giving him money to make him leave. Eventually, her father got hooked on gambling and racked up millions in debt. Alice couldn't afford to pay it back, so she turned to Joel for help. Joel gave her one condition: he'd give her the money after they divorced. Desperate to get rid of her gambler father, Alice agreed through gritted teeth. Anyone with half a brain knew that once she had the baby, she could get a sizable amount in child support from the Joel family. Unfortunately, after the divorce, Alice couldn't get any more money. One night, drunk and enraged, her father beat her mercilessly, and she lost the baby. Fiona. Joel's voice was soft and tender, gentler than I'd ever heard it. I don't know what I can do now. I know anything I say is wrong, but still, I want to say, I'm sorry. I pressed my lips together tightly and said nothing. He continued, as if to himself, back then, I thought women should be like Alice, dependent on men, not like you, who carried everything on your own shoulders. He paused, but when I really thought about it, I realized you actually asked for help many times. I just never noticed. Joel. Oliver had shown up behind him at some point, his expression cold as he glared at Joel. You're disturbing my wife's rest. Then he bent down and picked me up. This place isn't good for sleeping. Let's go back to our room. Back in the room. He didn't let me sleep. He didn't say a word, just did everything in silence, like he was venting. Joel had stayed in the same town for several days, and Oliver kept going at it day and night for just as long. The worst part? Joel seemed dead set on following us around. Wherever we went, he followed. On the last stop of our honeymoon, I suddenly fainted. After a checkup, the result came in: I was pregnant. Standing by the hospital bed, the doctor was listing things to pay attention to. At the end, he glanced at the two tall men at my bedside and asked, "So, which one of you is her husband?" I am. For a moment, Oliver's look toward Joel could have killed. Joel looked a little awkward. He didn't say anything else, but also didn't leave. I let out a long sigh of relief. Now I finally had a reason to rest for a whole year. The next day, instead of being in a hospital bed, I woke up in my own big bed at home, staring at Oliver's gentle smile. I was completely confused. What happened? He answered breezily. We flew back overnight. I didn't think much of it, but a few days later, Joel's name hit the trending topics. He'd been injured. It happened during our third honeymoon stop. Joel was stabbed multiple times at the hotel. It seemed the attacker was venting some grudge. Joel barely survived thanks to timely help. The assailant was caught in under 2 hours. It was Alice. On camera, she looked wild and unhinged, laughing maniacally with messy hair. If I can't have him, no one can. Our baby is dead, so he should go keep him company. Ha ha ha. Father and son together, never alone again. Ha 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 ha. Joel's family was furious. They pulled every string they had, and Alice received the maximum sentence. When Joel woke up, he asked to see me. I didn't go. Oliver did. I don't know what they talked about. All I know is that afterward, Oliver spared no effort in targeting Joel's company. All on his own, he slashed their annual profits by half. By the time Joel fully recovered and returned to work, the company was already declining fast. But that was all later. 9 months passed. I gave birth to a daughter. Oliver turned into a total girl dad every night after work. He'd hold our little bundle and refuse to let go. He doted on her so much I actually got a little jealous. But that night, after putting her to sleep, he scooped me up, half asleep, and carried me to the master bedroom. Babe, after a year of abstinence, it's time for you to repay me. He hadn't touched me for the entire pregnancy, an entire year. In the end, I couldn't bear to turn him down, but he totally pushed his luck, bringing out an outfit so skimpy it was basically thread. Ha, men really shouldn't be spoiled.